Hi, I'm Tim from the Marathon Mates. Welcome to episode number 139. On tonight's episode, we are going to be having a laugh or two as we share some of the weird things that we've seen when we've been out running. Whether it's people dressed up as Big Ben or a rhino during the London Marathon, or barefoot runners running on hot roads in Queensland, or just people in the crowd with weird and wacky signs. We've seen it. We've been there and we've seen it. We've even seen people who fuel with wacky fuels and foods when they're out running as well. So we're going to share all those experiences with you and talk a little bit about the weird and wacky things that are out there in the world of running. And maybe one of us is a wacky runner. Wonder who that could be. As you know, we love our running and we love sharing our adventures of running around the world. We are the only major podcast. We are the only podcast, actually, in the world with 5 7-star world marathon major runners. And this is the Flying RuNR Podcast. Are you ready to run? Let's go.
It's the Flying RuNR. Run far, run free. Host of 7 stars, inclusive as can be. It's the Flying RuNR for you and me.
Hey everyone, and welcome back. Before we have a laugh and talk about weird and wacky things, let me introduce you to my co-hosts tonight. Tonight we've got Tara, Pieta, and Tony. G'day guys, how are you?
Awesome.
Great, thanks, Tim.
Excellent. And Tara's all good too. We're just missing Lucia this week, who has recently started a new job. And as part of that new job, she's had to do some inductions and traveling and wining and dining and all sorts of interesting things. So she's unable to join us this week. But we might start with you guys. How's your week been? And I guess what's happening in the world that you live in, I guess, guys. Let's start with Tara.
So what did I do? Parkrun I did with you on Saturday. We did Culture. So we did Central Lakes Parkrun, and we got to see our marathon mates Kay and Jed. That's their home parkrun. It's a lovely course. It does get very hot and humid. It's sort of sandwiched between, for at least 3 Ks of it, is sandwiched between a noise wall on a highway and housing as well. So when it's a hot, humid day, it's a hot, humid day, and you know about it in that little spot. But it's a really, really nice course, and they're really friendly people. So that was good. And I did a long run on Sunday. Tim ended up doing about 21 Ks. I only did 18. Just wasn't feeling it. For the last 2 long runs, I have not been able to get my heart rate right. I haven't been able to feel good. I don't know if it's the heat and humidity or if I actually need to probably go and see the cardiologist to get a checkup. I don't know. But we'll give it another try next week if it's cooler and see what we go from there. But yeah, and I've just been running during the week. I've done my running training on Tuesday morning, my running coaching training. Just having some fun with running again, just trying to get back into it all. So yeah.
Yep. No, it was good yesterday in the rain. Our long run, a bit humid, but very hot. Sticky, but a little bit cooler with the rain, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And Peter, you're in Sydney tonight by the looks of it.
Yes, I'm filling in for Lucia while she's up north, so I thought I'd come down to Sydney and keep everything under control. But I can tell you it's so humid here as well. I found exactly the same thing on my long run on the weekend, and the humidity is so taxing, isn't it? Like it really adds to your fatigue and dehydration. So our long runs have stepped back up to that 26K mark, and I'm finding now with 4 weeks to go that the early onset paranoia has started, where I look at my ankle and think, oh, that looks a bit swollen, and I've got a twinge in my knee. That's probably going to be a cruciate ligament tear. And while the appetite has settled down, thankfully, I think now sort of the injury and sickness phobia is going to start. That, you know, it's getting very close now, but I can smell that taper, you guys. Only a few more weeks and we'll be cutting down the distance. I'm very excited.
Yeah, I like taper time. I don't like
Yes.
paranoia time. Paranoia is a pain.
No,
Yeah,
it
yeah,
sure
it's
is.
amazing. It's amazing how many little niggles and aches you get when you're in those last steps towards a marathon. Yet you have them every other
Yeah,
day of the week. You don't even notice them.
true.
That's it. And Tony, what's the latest on your knee?
Well, first up, I've just got to say I don't think I've ever suffered from paranoia, to be honest, to the extent that I hear others do. I just enjoy my taper and look forward to the run. So, and I suppose my thought process is always about what will be will be. So the future's not ours to see. So yeah. So
You can make a song out of that, Tony.
Yeah, look
I
at you
think maybe.
philosophizing.
Oh, absolutely. So, yeah, the knee. I went to see one of Australia's, Brisbane's leading knee surgeons. He's probably Australia's too. So, and once again, a good shout out to Dolph for making that happen. So, what I learned was that as far as tears go, it's a good tear. It's not a bad tear. It's a good tear. And ultimately now I've just got to manage it for 6 weeks, see where I'm at, and if it's improved enough for me to be, attempting a run or two, that'll be good, and I won't need to go back to see him. But if it hasn't improved, and if I've still got the same issues as what I've currently got whenever I swivel or move to the side or sidestep or those sorts of things, the knee hurts. I go back to see him, and we will be talking about surgery. Now, the surgery itself isn't a real intrusive one. It's like a keyhole surgery. They go in and clean up around the tear. 2 days recovery. Then I'm back doing normal stuff, what I was doing, but not running for another 6 weeks. So worst case scenario, that's 3 months off running, and I'm okay with that. I feel good knowing where I'm at and what I've got to do, and I've now also asked a lot of questions around what are some of the exercises that I can do, and basically I've got a pretty clean bill to do what I need to do, and if it hurts, stop. So I think that's, what's that old saying? Listen to your body. If the body says, hey, my knee's hurting, probably don't do that exercise. So it's good. I went out and bought a bigger screen TV for the gym, so I'm set, and jumped on the exercise bike this morning as well as doing some leg work. So it was pretty good. So feeling much better about it, and just missing the going out for a run. So that's it for the knee. In terms of feedback, we do get feedback, and I don't always read all of it out, but we got a new feedback on YouTube, and it was way back in episode 108. So it's always good when someone goes searching for a topic and finds one of our videos. And this is from Christy Wren. And she did this over the weekend. Thank you, runners. I came in to research what runners think during a marathon. So the episode was 108, Inside the Mind of a Marathon Runner, what we think about while running. And if our listeners remember, that was the Baby Pelicans episode, right? So, so thank you, runners. I came in to research what runners think about during a marathon. I'm just working out a problem I have discovered as I start back running. I'm 72 and have run 40 plus years and took a year off. Thank you for all you talk. So, Christy, thank you for your comment. Thank you for finding our podcast. It's I know there's so many running podcasts out there, and I'm really appreciative of the comment. So, and good luck. 72, 40 years of running, took a year off, and now there's some questions that she's looking to answer. So thank you so much, and I hope you stay tuned, Christy.
Yeah, I reckon Christy could probably tell us a thing or two about what goes through the mind of a runner after 40 years of running. So, yeah, well done, Christy, for finding us. All right. Well, thanks, guys. Now it's that time of the week where Tara does her trivia bit. So, Tara, what's your first clue this week?
Excellent. Thanks, Tim. So tonight I'm going to do a what am I instead of a who am I or where am I. It's going to be a what am I. So first clue. I see many Australians or Aussies using this product. However, overseas, it seems to be a lot less common.
A product.
I know. Can I say no?
No. You've got to stop looking at my notes, boy.
Is it something Tim would use? Can you give us a clue?
Yes, Tim would use it.
He would use it. Okay.
So there wouldn't be budgie smugglers then.
No, Tim does not use budgie smugglers. Well, not when I'm running with him anyway. So, yeah. So, yes, no, Tim definitely does not do budgie smugglers.
Did you just help me out, Tony?
No. No, I didn't. Every now and again, the platform decides to drop someone. So, yeah. It's,
I don't know if you got that, but I said I used to wear budgie smugglers, but I don't use them to run in.
The answer is not budgie smugglers, people. Let's get off that.
All right. I guess we'll find out more as the show goes on. So thanks, Tara. Now it's that time of the week where we go to the news. Tony, what's been happening around the world this week?
Well, before I get on to this one, because I've just got to share with the listeners that, as we know, Tim has got so much detail around putting together the run sheet. And when I saw the first news item and it went for like a fair bit, I said, I'm gonna summarize that, and I'm going to use one of my favorite platforms. So just to give you an idea of how long and detailed the first piece of news was, I asked for a summary, and the summary came out at one full A4 full page. So that's the summary. So you can thank me later for not reading it all, but I think what most people are going to be aware of this. So during the US Half Marathon Road Championships in Atlanta, the three leading women were actually accidentally directed off course in the final mile by the lead vehicle, which added about 1 kilometre to their run. Now, the runners affected were Jess McLean, Emma Grace Hurley, and Edna Kurgat. So they were well ahead of the field. And for those people that have seen the video circulating around socials, you would be aware that they were well ahead. But what ultimately happened is that while they were being taken the wrong way, other competitors who stayed on the correct course passed them and ultimately finished ahead of them. Now, there was a reason why it happened. The mistake occurred when a police officer assigned to the race was struck by a vehicle, drawing officers away from nearby intersections. After the ambulance left, course cones were not put back in place, and the lead car mistakenly followed a police motorbike, which was going the wrong way. So as a result of the mix-up, Molly Bourne was declared the winner, followed by Gabrielle Elwood and Annie Rodenfels, while McLean, I think, finished 9th. Hurley and McCurgat finished 11th and 12th, I believe, or it might have been 12th and 13th. Now this is a stuff up of just epic proportions in my eyes in so many ways. But the Atlanta Track Club accepted responsibility for the error and adjusted prize money to compensate the affected athletes, awarding McCain the $20,000 winners prize, while Hurley and Kurgat split the combined second and third. Now, a protest was also filed, and USA Track and Field ruled the course was inadequately marked. So that was their ruling. It was inadequately marked, but stated the rulebook does not allow altering the official order of finish. However, there is a World Championships team selection on the line, and that's not finalised until May. And there was an expectation at the time of the event that there would be some further outcomes or investigations to determine the fairest outcome. So what has happened since then, right? So we heard yesterday that USA Track and Field have taken an unprecedented step after the controversial finish, officially naming Jess McLean a co-champion following the lead vehicle error that sent her off course during the race. The incident occurred, I'm not going to go through that again, but in a remarkable show of sportsmanship, the three athletes who originally crossed the finish line first, which was Molly Bourne, Elwood and Rodenfels, have voluntarily declined their World Championship qualification spots, acknowledging the race outcome was affected by the course error. USATF also awarded McCain the championships points from the race and submitted an emergency request to World Athletics asking the governing body to recognise her performance for World Championship qualification purposes. Now, this has evoked so much chatter on social media. So many people saying they should have known the course, you memorise the course you run on. I don't know any half marathon course that I've been able to memorise. I'm just following runners in front of me and hope to God they're going the right way. So, and I would imagine that for those at the pointy end of the field are following the lead vehicles. So this whole argument of they should have known the course, they should have known, and they would, just does not make sense. But what do you guys think? What are your thoughts around that whole debacle?
Oh, look, it happened to Eliud Kipchoge too in one of his races, and he went a couple of 100 meters off course from memory. So it's disappointing for the first place people. They train extremely hard to be in that position. It can mean a difference between qualifying for a race that they need to be in. It can be also prize money, as you've discussed. It's a little disappointing, but look, human error happens, right? That's what happens. And you shouldn't have to memorize a course. You've got enough to think about, especially if you're running that fast, or it doesn't matter what speed you're doing. You've got enough to think about when you're running. So to me, I don't think you should memorize a course. Parkrun, unless I've never been first, but I know Tim has been first before in a parkrun, and he was sort of a bit like, where do I go from here? Because it was a brand new parkrun course for us. I was lucky I was fourth place. And I had people to still follow, but it is, parkrun is a lot different. You can come back the next week, whereas you can't with a race. You can't retrain for that same race in the same conditions. So it's pretty disappointing for them, but human error happens, I guess.
Peter, you got any thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with Tara. I think the runners would have been in the zone. It would have been close to the end. They're in the hurt locker, and they just thought they were doing the right thing by following the lead vehicle. So I don't think it's their fault at all.
Yeah, I have a difference of opinion, but that's okay. My opinion is this is part of racing. If you do ultra running or trail running, chances are, in most instances, someone will take the wrong turn somewhere. Not all the courses are marked out properly. I get that on a road course it might be different, but there have been numerous examples before. Kipchoge, as Tara said, took a wrong turn in Tokyo a number of years ago. He was on world record pace at that time. Nobody came back afterwards and said, we'll ratify the time and make up for that lost time and give him the world record. Having said that, it seems like they've all come up with the right solution in the end to award them the same sort of prize money and to have the other girls step aside so they can take the world championship spots. But to me, even at that elite level, there is an element when you're on the road that's part of road racing, that sometimes you can go down the wrong road, and there is a bit of an emphasis to know where you are. The courses can be somewhat challenging, but at the same time, they're not that challenging to remember, particularly the last kilometre or two of a race where you would not be looking and memorising those finish lines and knowing where they are so that you can speed up and and do what you need to do at that elite level. So I'm probably a little bit the other way.
Yeah, but if you are relying on a pace vehicle, you're following the pace vehicle.
I understand that viewpoint, Tim, but I think also the reality is it would have confused them anyway if they'd said, no, I've got to keep running straight here instead of turning. That would have affected them anyway. So I certainly understand your point that, you're a kilometre or a mile or something from the end. You should potentially understand what that looks like. And then to see the pace vehicle turn left, you're probably thinking, why are they doing that? So I think either way would have had an effect on the race.
So if one of them went straight and the two others went right and followed the lead vehicle, and the third place girl kept going straight and won, would they have done the same thing with the results? I don't know.
It's interesting because potentially, so even the third place girl, which was, I think, the what was her name again?
Elwood.
That's it. She was coming third at the turn, and she still had a shot for the race. She wasn't that far. I mean, the winner had a sizable gap, but nothing that would have been insurmountable. Yeah, she might have been able to get there. So I think once again that just conjures up a whole new, my God, what do we do in that instance? So because she was potentially a potential winner at that particular stage. So
having said that though, if I took a left onto Boylston and a right onto, what's the one before that? Left onto whatever.
Right onto Hereford, left onto Boylston.
Right. So if I went left at Hereford and then missed Boylston and we missed out that final 4 seconds at Boston, I'd be pretty upset.
Yes, true.
Maybe.
You would have been in Newbury Street, but anyway, neither here nor there.
Yes.
Hey, the Flying Runner crew were woken up with an early morning message on our group chat from Tim just sharing the news that Jacob Kiplomo has regained his world marathon world record in a blistering time of 57 minutes and 20 seconds, which equates to about an average pace of 2:43 a kilometre. He achieved his feat at the Lisbon Half Marathon, which you may remember we talked about as part of our Super Half series. He took 10 seconds off the official world record for the distance, which was Yomif Kajikar. Yeah, that'll do. And what was even more outstanding in this, in a race with no pacemakers, Kiplomo covered the first 5K in a very swift 13:28. Which I think is just absolutely amazing. Kenyan Duro, Nicholas Kipkora and Gilbert Kipricic were tucked close behind the Ugandan for the first half, with the trio passing through 10K in 27 minutes as Kipricic started to fade. Kiplomo and Kipkora continued to run side by side and passed 15 in 40:52. And then that's when Kiplomo picked up the tempo and forged ahead, covering the next 5K in 13:31. You can always count on Tim to give a detailed race report. He maintained that pace until the end and crossed the finish line in 57:20. So that's amazing. Well done. Well done. And he's currently in training, I believe. Tim, is that right, for the London Marathon next month? So you've really got to ask yourself, what could be the potential in London this year? What are your thoughts, Tim?
Well, we know London's a fast course and it has had a history of world records being set on it. We do know that he ran only his second marathon ever in Chicago last year and won that, and he basically took the lead from about 13 kilometres or so into the race. He took the lead and ran it largely isolated, and he finished in 2:02:23 without people pushing him. To show you how quick 57:20 is for the half marathon, I just did a quick calculation on the marathon pace. If he was to run that pace over the entire marathon, that's 1 hour, 54 minutes and 38 seconds, which is just crazy. So even if you said he backed it off and lost a few minutes over the last second half of the race, he's scarily on track to potentially be sub 2 hours. It's just how he hangs on, whether he's got the endurance in the legs. I was talking to Tara this morning about it, and I'm just trying to work out why we keep breaking these world records in the half marathon or the marathon. I know technology in the shoes is a big differentiator. I know they're training differently. They've got fuels that are different now than they did 5-10 years ago. And it's not drugs, because Kiploma's been in the system for a very long time. He's done a lot of road and track work over the years. He's been tested well and truly, but it's just crazy how quickly they're going at the moment. And I can't wait to London to see what happens in London.
Absolutely. And that's the news for this week.
Thanks, Tony. Now it's time for the second clue of your trivia tonight, Tara. What is your second clue?
Excellent. So my second clue is it comes in many styles and it is made by most running brands. It comes in different colors, and Tim and I always wear a different style.
To each
Tim
other.
doesn't like my style, and I don't like his style.
We're still talking budgie smugglers, aren't we?
G-string or no G-string? No, it is not.
Oh,
smugglers.
Not for running.
Not. It's definitely a running thing, and it's what Aussies use more than I've seen anybody overseas use.
Wow.
It always
I thought I
fascinates
was
me
onto
that overseas people don't use this.
Okay, I was going to say socks for sure, but no, you just forget that. because people
Maybe
wear
Tara has
socks
toe
overseas.
socks. Yeah, maybe she has toe socks and I don't. But yeah, maybe somebody. I
Yeah,
don't know.
maybe. Or you like different brands, different colours. But,
Who knows?
I'm pretty sure people overseas wear socks too. So forget that.
All right. Well, we'll let you guys keep thinking about it for a while yet, because there's one more clue from Tara later on. So let's move on to our topic tonight, which is the weird things we've seen running. And I know, as I said at the beginning of the podcast, Tara and I know you guys have also done London, but we think London is probably the quirkiest of the races that we've been to, because there's so many charity runners, and with the charities, there's always some form of requirement to identify yourself in those charities. So we've seen people running as rhinos and with all sorts of other costumes. And then on top of that, with London, they have the Guinness World Records there as well, which verify people wearing different sort of costumes. And one of them was that we've seen is a Big Ben replica. And this would have been, 7 or 8 feet tall, Tara, that this guy ran the whole London Marathon with this replica. So we've seen ninjas, we've seen people dressed in dinner suits, we've seen people dressed in wedding gowns at London, we've seen all sorts of things there, right? So firstly, guys, what are your memories of London? And secondly, do you think there is another race out there that you've been to that is even wackier than London? So I might start with you, Tony, first.
Yeah, so London specifically, right? So it all sort of become a bit normal, but you show up at Greenwich there, and all of a sudden you see these people getting in their rhino costumes, and you go, my God, what's all this about? And by the time you've started, you sort of just tuned into that's the normality of London almost. Like to top those people who run in their rhino costumes is very hard to do. But I remember when we were coming through Canary Wharf, and heading to the finish line from there, where we'd done the out and back, I was running past a lady who was fully kitted out in like a dominatrix, one of those dominant female things. Not stiletto. She had on a pair of green Asics, but fishnet stockings, the whole thing. And all I remember as I ran past her, and then she ultimately passed us again as we got close to the finish, was all I was thinking about was that's got to chafe. So, that was probably full courage to that particular lady. Very obviously running for a cause of some description, which I'd read about, I think, a couple of days afterwards. But all I was thinking about is the chafe, because there wasn't much protection there and it was all pretty tight fitting. So that's probably the weirdest thing that I can remember about London.
Tara?
There was a guy that was dressed as a full DJ, and he had a DJ deck at the front of him, and he was carrying that around his neck, and he was DJing at the same time. There was another person carrying an ironing board underneath their arm, and a person with a fridge on their back, from memory. I don't know why, but yes. But that was just London. For me, I've also seen at Gold Coast a person wearing budgie smugglers, a guy, just budgie smugglers, and he did not have any body glide on. So he looked like he had been going through the meat grinder by about K18, and the amount of blood that was running down his legs was unbelievable. Lucia and I had a good chat to him and asked what the hell he was thinking, because that was the year I ran the half marathon with Lucia. I have also seen a guy run Gold Coast with a huge American flag. No, not just a little American flag. It is like one that you would probably put in your backyard as a flagpole, and he was carrying that for the whole entire marathon. I did debate why. Actually, I think at Gold Coast I also saw a person carrying a mattress.
Yes.
I don't know why. So I think these are all fundraising things, but Gold Coast seems to have some really weird things as well, I've found.
Yeah, there is. And remember Phil with the egg and spoons as well. He's the world record holder in an egg and spoon carry in one hand, and he was also, I think, the world record holder in the egg and spoon in both hands, and he ran the marathon.
Yeah, so Phil Rourke, yep, he's the world record holder, and we actually see him out training out where we train as well. So yeah, he does run with an egg and spoon and has people record him while he does it. So yes, there are some very interesting things that you see at Gold Coast as well.
Yeah. And Peter, your memories of London and other quirky races?
Yeah, I was very similar to you. I couldn't believe the rhinos that were there, and I actually loved hearing all the cheers they were getting on the side of the road too. Like, people love the rhinos, and I didn't know there was more than one. So as we kept passing them, it's like there's another one and there's another one, and they're very popular. I was lucky enough to go back and spectate London in 2024. And I took lots of photos of all the people in fancy dress. So I remember them. I also remember the man with the ironing board. And there was a lady dressed up as a firefighter. And she had she was standing in a replica of a fire engine, and she had that strapped over her shoulders for 42 kilometers. The helmet, the full jacket, everything. I like Tara. I have noticed a few at the Gold Coast too, which I love. There's a Japanese lady that comes every year that dresses up in a little sailor costume, and she does a 3-hour something time too. She does a really fast clip with a huge smile on her face. Probably the only other race I've seen that I would rate is the one you guys are doing, Marathon Medoc. And, it's almost, you'd be out of place if you didn't dress up for that. So I'm very excited you've both got an 80s theme this year. I think that's going to be so much fun.
Any suggestions on what we should wear?
Oh, anything neon, leg warmers, go crazy with the colors and their hair color spray, and just your craziest costume you can find, I think. And it'll be comfortable probably too.
We'll find something. I'm sure by the end of it, it'll have lots of red wine spilt all over it anyway. So.
Oh, I'd be disappointed if you didn't.
So for me, one of the weird things I see out there are runners, and I know it's just me saying it, but it's runners wearing bare feet or minimalist shoes. It still weirds me out seeing it, even though I get there's some theories and some science as to running natural is better for your feet and better for your body than wearing shoes. I get that, but that's one of the things that weirds me out. What about you guys? Are there some other things that are just a generalist thing that you think that weird you out that you see other runners doing? So, Tara, you or Noddy, I might start with you this time.
Anything cotton. Like, why do you wear a cotton shirt when you're running? Like, you go to Kmart, they're $5 for a technical top. It's not expensive to put a technical top on. I just can't run in cotton. I've made that mistake, especially with socks before, when I've done Tough Mudders and stuff, before I was a proper runner. And you chafe really badly. And I just don't think, for the sake of a couple of bucks at Kmart and you want to throw it out afterwards, go for it. But cotton to me is just weird. I understand some people prefer cotton, and we've got friends that only run in cotton. So I just don't understand how they do it.
Yeah. Tony?
Probably the weirdest shoes that I've ever seen someone running in is a pair of high-cut Chuck Taylors, the Converse basketball shoes. I still don't know how they do it. They are a flat shoe, and I used to wear them because they look cool. I don't know if they would be what I would run in. But the one thing that really weirds me out is the dude with the pineapple on his head. And
yes,
you see him in just about every European one. He passed me on the canals at Amsterdam, and I just think, why? Like, I'm sorry, it's his thing. He's made it. I don't know. He's probably got a business around it or something. But I just think, why? Why run with a pineapple on your head? You know.
He passed Tim and I at Berlin and Chicago too, didn't he, Tim?
Yeah, he did. He's 68 years old, and he's famous for running major marathons with a real pineapple balanced on his head. His mission is to promote joy, smiles, and healthy, fruit-focused, eco-conscious living, according to the website.
So that's the why. But I mean, can you imagine the thought process that goes through your head and think, I want to bring some relevance to this cause that I've got. What am I going to do? I know I'm going to put a pineapple on top of my head and go run world marathons. It's not something I would do.
Yeah, you can't tilt your head down. You can't relax. You're going to have the tension through your neck. Holding that would just be weird. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
That's a weird one. And Peter, what's something that weirds you out?
I've got a few, guys. I have seen people in Japan running in those wooden sandals, that are 4 inches high with the stilts, full marathon. I've seen Crocs. I don't get the people that run in flat sandals, like with very thin straps. I've seen double denim. I've seen people running in jeans, in full tracksuits, like jackets, pants, sweating like crazy. I've also seen mankinis on course, which is quite the eyeful and also chafe factor. But probably one of my favorite ever memories is Sydney's half marathon that's in May. We used to have a relay where one person would do 6K and then the second person does 15. And the transition area was over in Piermont in this big park. And one year we were all standing there waiting to start the second leg, And all of a sudden there was this hush over the crowd. And we looked over and we see this Adonis-like figure running along the course with no shirt, just a pair of black shorts and a hot pink bandana on his head. And you could hear a pin drop as this guy ran through at very fast speed. So he became known as Bandana Man amongst my running group. And every race we did from that point on in Sydney, we'd look out for Bandana Man, and he was quite often there, shirtless, not a care in the world, and an amazing runner as well. So Bandana Man is a special memory.
Yeah, that would be special.
Yes.
One last thing on the weird ones that I've seen, and I guess you've probably seen it as well, you guys. You know those drawstring bags that like a
the
carry
drop
bag? the drop bags, and they got the strings on them. We did a marathon once. Where was it, Tara? Where we saw a lady running.
Tokyo, we saw it in Tokyo, where she carried it the whole way.
whole
And Disney,
Yes.
lots of people carried them in Disney for some reason.
Yeah. I see them at
And
Sydney and Gold Coast.
Yeah,
Gold Coast. Yep.
I see him at Sydney, and I always think that there's someone who didn't read the event booklet and they were bringing that bag down for drop off.
Yeah. You feel like saying, "Oh, did you know there was a bag drop? You could have gotten rid of that."
Just like toss it somewhere and come back for it later on, because it would be the most annoying thing to run with. But anyway, if that gets them along. So I know also one of the weird things that runners have, we're all very conscious of the sort of foods we have and the things we put into our stomach pre and during a race. What are some of the weird things that you guys have seen? For me, it's probably more in Tokyo with the stuff that was on the side of the course, but I don't know about you guys. So I might go the other way. I might start with you this time, Peter, and you talk about some of the weird foods and things you've seen runners consume.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a wuss with that. I'm too scared to try anything in the fear that it might upset me. But certainly in the American races, you see people handing out shots. There'll be cups of beer at certain points. And I remember in Berlin, I think they were handing out tea to the runners at one of the aid stations. And and I thought that was very unusual as well. In Japan, I have seen all sorts of like salty rice balls and strange sort of snacks. There's usually spectators as well that might be handing out lollies or orange segments, which isn't weird at all. But I must admit, I'm never usually game to try them, and just the fear that it might give me a tummy upset or something like that.
Or that someone's laced it with something and it. Because that is one of the things I find really quite. All of a sudden, you're out there in the middle of the marathon, and all your good senses just disappear if someone comes up to you with a red snake and you go, "Yes, thank you."
Tony, what's some of the weird foods you've seen consumed by people?
Look, I think Germany was the one that stood out for me. They had some really weird looking things. I've still got no idea what they were, little pastry things and some of the spots and whatnot. And I think I saw something similar when we were running Tokyo. Don't tell me what they were. But probably the weirdest thing that I feel that we have ever had running was when we were coming through the Bronx in our first New York marathon, and someone's offered us pretzels. And seriously, there is no way in the world, if someone had said to me before the race, "You will be eating pretzels at mile 22," because I just would not have thought about that being an appropriate food. But can I tell you, the salt on that thing was just exactly what we needed. So it's unbelievable. But that's probably the weirdest thing I've ever had. But I've seen lots of weird stuff on the tables. Peeled bananas. I'm not sure if that's right, because you sit out a whole lot of peeled bananas. They don't look very appetizing after a while. So that's one that I've probably looked at and thought, good intentions, not good execution.
And Tara?
Tokyo was definitely weird. They had an apple custard type thing in a pouch the year we did it. Tomatoes. They had tomatoes on course. I don't know why, but yep. Some of the things are very, very weird that you do get on course in different countries. But look, each to their own. You can pick up what you want to have out of what you want. I'd never eaten a banana before London Marathon during a run, and some lady talking about people handing you stuff on the side of the course handed me a banana, and I'm just like, I'll take that at 30 Ks. And it wasn't peeled, so I ate it, and it was the best decision of my life. So that lady has actually changed my whole entire running just by taking something from a stranger. Now, however, I would not take lollies out of a packet that everyone has been putting their hands into. My good sense will not let me do that on a race, because all those sweaty hands that have been God knows where, and then I've touched all those lollies, and then no, I will not do that. So yeah, definitely not doing that one. New York Marathon, they were handing out packets of chips or crisps, as they like to call them in America. I didn't take them. I know Reese took them on New York because he had his backpack with him, and he was running along, and somewhere along the line he actually lost his out of his backpack. And I think that was his most disappointing thing about New York, that he lost his chips out of the back, because he was waiting to eat them at about 34 Ks for the salt. He was quite disappointed that he'd lost those.
Yeah, no, it's weird things, isn't it? I remember in Disney World for the Dopey Challenge, they had that table full of fun-sized chocolates, and it was literally, there would be a couple of thousand packets of these fun-sized chocolate candies, like Hershey's type
M&Ms,
stuff.
caramel M&Ms, I remember, and Reese's chocolates, and
I don't know, like for me, I'm not going to eat those things at that stage, but I took big handfuls of them, shoved them into my running pouch, and I think I came home with more food than I took on the course.
And they were all melted. They were all melted by the time.
Oh no!
So they got thrown out anyway from memory.
Yeah. Moving along, guys, just getting into training programs and weird things on training programs that you see. I guess for me, the weirdest thing, we talk about it and we have a laugh about it, but I still can't get my head around this whole concept of a pre-week, Tony. I think that's just totally weird. It's as weird as an AFL season starting with opening round and then going into round one, or the NRL having opening round and then going into round one. It makes zero sense. Just call it round one or pre-week one or whatever, or week one. But anyway, that's my bugbear, my weird thing. From a training program perspective, Tony, what are some of the weird things you've seen or heard other runners do in training programs that are weird?
Yeah, look, my training programs are pretty systematic. I think I pretty much build up, and then I taper, and then I run the race, right? So, because I was thinking about this and all the different things in training weeks, and I'm glad that you're saying pre-week is just weird, because to me, I think a pre-week is the mentally preparing for the start of your training block, and I know so many runners that actually do that. So what I consider weird is running 21 Ks every Sunday. To me, that's weird. That's foreign. But I certainly don't say that it doesn't happen, because I know it happens. The other thing that I find quite interesting is the concept of deload weeks now, where people build up to a distance and have a week off where they lighten their load. I understand the concept, but it's not something I've ever done, because, as I've said, I sort of start at a base and then I work my way up, and hopefully 2 or 3 weeks before the marathon, I've run my longest runs. It's been a steady build, and then I go into a taper program. So, but just because I don't do a deload doesn't mean I don't believe in it, because I can understand the theory behind it. You're giving your body a bit of a break, and I'm taking it the concept that a deload week would be in a longer marathon block, maybe a 16 to 20 weeker, as opposed to what I traditionally try and aim for, a 12-week. People that do long runs on a Monday, that's really weird. But outside of that, I think training plans are really personal. If something works for someone and it works well, is it my place to say it's weird? No. If it works for them, go for it. I thought what who was our guest? Alish Baki did with the 10K
that was
runs.
weird.
That was weird. That's it. But it worked. So, at the end of the day, when she talked about it, I'm thinking, geez, that's pretty cool. I hope it works. I might start doing something like that. And then it worked, and she ran an amazing time. So there's lots of weird things, but whatever works for you is going to be whatever your training plan looks like, I guess.
Yeah. Tara?
Look, I've seen a couple of people do this, and I don't know why they do it, but it's almost like they're cramming for an exam. They sort of taken a little bit of running prior to the marathon and then go, oh crap, I've only got 6 weeks left to train for this, and then jam it all in at the end of their 6 weeks when you're almost at your taper time. And I've seen people that sort of start from base almost at 6 weeks up to like the week before, still running, 36 Ks for the marathon. And I'm just like, I wonder how that's going to go for you. So I think that's a little bit weird when you sort of cram it all in at the end rather than building that base up to start with. So, yeah.
Yep, that's weird, but I guess they only know what they know, and it works.
Oh yeah, look, I'm not begging anybody.
No, that's it. And we're not begging anyone tonight with anything. It's just the things we find weird, like every week.
Or running 21 Ks every Sunday.
Yeah, well, that's just normal. Peter, sure. Weird.
I don't know if it's weird, but I do stress for the beginners who think that they've got to do 20 miles or 32K as their longest run because they've heard that that's what they've got to do. And even some programs will write it in for them that, I know Hal Higdon and even some of Jeff Galloway's programs have you do a full marathon before the day two, which I don't think is a good idea. I truly think there's no value in going over 3.5 hours for anybody, because all you're going to do is stuff up your training for the next week. And also you'll be so exhausted and so sore that you're not going to be able to recover in time and get those adaptations before your next training week starts. So that's one thing I see that drives me crazy, that people think I've got to do 32 or 34K or I've got to hit 20 miles, because no, you don't actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, 100%. Yep, everyone. Well, I must admit, I was the same when I did my first marathon. I pushed it right out to 39 Ks, I think, just to get mentally right in my own head that I could get the distance done before I did the race. So everyone has their own little quirks, but it is a little bit different, and that's what we say. This is just our weird thoughts and what we see and what we hear. Now, just the final question, guys. There's weird locations where people go running, and I just heard of one the other day of a guy who ran here in Queensland a full marathon around a shopping centre, and he ran up and down through all the various parts of the shopping centre. He'd stop and have a catch up at a cafe for some fueling or some drinks. So you go and have a chat to somebody along the way. It's a little bit weird, but a bit quirky, but I can understand that one. I've heard of some other ones, but what about you guys? Have you heard of some weird locations where people have run marathons? I might start with you, Tara.
I just saw on my Facebook feed or Instagram feed, one of the feeds, somebody running in the toilet of an aeroplane. I don't know how you would get your Garmin to work out how far you're going, why you would be trying to run you can't even move in one of those things, and you'd be taking up the space for somebody else to be using that. So I don't know how true that was, but I did see it come up on my feed, had a read through it and just thought, this is not really an ideal place to be running. So, yeah.
Yeah, my head would hit the roof constantly. I'm always hunched over.
Could you imagine how dirty your shoes would be afterwards? Like, what the floors and bathrooms and no.
No, thanks. No, thanks. What about you, Tony? Have you got some weird locations that you've heard of?
Yeah, I thought about this one, and we saw a lot in COVID, where people were doing true backyard marathons and running down their path to the gate and back however many times. And I was really hoping that craze would sort of disappear. But I saw recently, like I think I saw the same article about the gentleman in the plane, and he was claiming it as a new world record. So because obviously a plane goes at whatever a plane goes at a little bit quicker than what humans can. But I saw a person, for whatever reason, run a marathon in his bathtub. And I just think, why would you want to? Like I'm sorry, I'm sounding like a grumpy old man, aren't I? But why would you put yourself through that? To me, that's just lunacy. But anyway, that's probably the most craziest one that I've seen.
You'd just be turning constantly at each end.
Yeah.
You wouldn't ever take more than a stride.
2 steps, 2 steps, 2 steps. Yeah.
You get dizzy.
Yeah.
Why? And Peter.
Yeah. I do remember some of those COVID ones. Especially Anna from the running channel. She did a marathon in her backyard, running up to the clothesline and back. This is the type of thing I enjoy watching on the treadmill. There's another YouTuber by the name of Goran Windblad. He's a Swedish guy living in Norway. He's a running physio. He has a great channel. But he's done some crazy stuff like running in an athletics track, which is in the basement of a building. And he and his friend were trying to do a sub 10-minute 3K on this indoor track with no natural ventilation. It's just completely inside. He's also tried to break or get the Strava crown for running up Norwegian's second highest mountain, which I'll leave it up to you if you watch YouTube to see that. But the other one is the Aussie guy, Bo Miles, who does lots of YouTube videos. And he ran a marathon in a 5-star hotel lobby and ran around through conference rooms. And I found that quite entertaining to watch as well. Like some of them are legit crazy, but some of them are really good fun to watch as well.
Yeah, no, Bo Miles's one was good in the hotel. Up and down through the same rooms, up and down each floor, up the fire escapes. Yeah, he also
does actually run in very, very weird. Every one of his YouTube videos, it is a weird thing. Like he'll run along picking up rubbish, then collect like recyclable bottles so he can go and recycle them. Do you know what I mean? Like he is, or food. He'll only eat the food that he finds on the side of the road for his marathon. So he really does take it to the extreme.
Yeah.
Quite funny too.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for that. We've talked enough about weird and wacky things. And look, if you are one of those people that have done or do one of those things that we've talked about today, it doesn't mean anything. It just means that we think it's a bit weird. We think it's a bit wacky. But if it works for you, then it works for you. It doesn't really matter what other people think. We're just having a little bit of fun tonight. So, but maybe you've got some weird and wacky running stories. Maybe seeing Tim and Tara running side by side together the whole time's a bit weird. So why don't you let us know by sending us a message? All right, now before we jump over into tonight's tip, we're going to finish off with Tara's trivia. What is your final clue tonight, Tara?
So this one will definitely give it away for you. This product is usually paired up with sunglasses and protects you from the sun.
Tony, what do you reckon?
Surely we're not just talking about like a visor or a cap.
Yep, that's it.
Are we serious? That was good. That was good.
Yeah.
And you are right. It is. We see it all the time here, but you'll line up at a marathon in the US and people very rarely are wearing caps.
Yep.
Or Europe.
Right.
Yeah. And Tim will always wear a hat and I always wear a visor. So always a different style.
Yes. Yeah, it's one of those weird things that I guess because we were brought up with the no hat, no play rule here in Australia, we've learnt to wear hats when we're outside, but it must be pretty foreign for people overseas in Europe or in the US because you just rarely see people running with them.
Yeah.
What made me think
I must
of it
admit,
is,
I've noticed that.
Yeah. What made me think of it is when we were in Bushy Parkrun, we have Parkrun hats that have got Parkrun labels on them everywhere. And the Bushy Parkrun people were like, oh my God, where did you get that from? We love it. We would love one of those. And I'm like, off the Parkrun website? Like, yeah. So they just, it was just foreign for them to have a hat or a visor with Parkrun on it. So that's what made me think. And we started noticing it then that nobody else really wears hats or visors.
Yep. And if anyone's looking at the video of this podcast right now, you'll be able to see on the side of my face is a patch where I've actually had a potential skin cancer scraped away today as a test for a biopsy. So it is very real here in Australia. While we wear hats, people get skin cancer. All right. Good work there, Tara. Now, Lucia was going to give the tip tonight. So at very short notice, we're going to hand it over to Tara for your tip this week.
Tara takes the crown. Hear the crowd get loud. No, maybe no doubt. She should sit down. Best in the room. Truth hits hard. Boom by boom. Finish lines, not finish times. Tara takes the crown. Yeah, she owns the ground.
Excellent.
Tara, what's your tip this week?
Thanks, Tim. My tip this week is a little bit on a short notice. I'm just going to say, and we say it all the time, and this goes back to what Tony was talking about earlier in the podcast, listen to your body. He is doing the right thing at the moment by resting and recovering the way he needs to, and listening to his body. If it hurts when he's running, stop doing that exercise. It is not right. Now, you've got to remember to think about what is the right hurt and what is the wrong hurt when you're running as well. If it is tearing, burning, any abnormal sort of pain, stop. See somebody about it or get it assessed. Rest it, whatever you have to do. If it's just, I've got like tired legs type soreness, maybe you just need to stretch a little bit more. There's definitely things there that you can do, but I always say listen to your body. A good example of that is me over the last 2 weekends. I had set out to do my long runs. I ran probably maybe a quarter of them both times because my body was saying stop running. And I'm okay with that. Distance beats pace, as Tim always says. So if you have to walk out 18 Ks, you walk out 18 Ks to get your training done. What does it matter? There's still time on your legs and you're getting that distance done. There is always time to make up later on. But if you injure yourself like how Tony has now, I'm not saying it's from him not listening to his body, but if you're injured, you can't make up that time later on. It's really hard to recount that time. So listen to your body now and don't pay for it later. That's my tip.
Thanks, Tara. I think you've set a new personal record for the length of your tip. Well done. But it is very, very worthy tip, and we've said it numerous times, and there's probably a song in that, isn't there, Tony?
Yeah, there possibly is. She takes the crown. So
there you go. And listen to your body as well. All right. Thanks, Tara. This episode is about to end, but before we do that, Peter, what is on next week's show?
Thank you, Tim. Well, next week we're going to be talking about streaking. No, it's not the streaking that involves wearing no clothes, but the streaking that involves logging at least a mile of running every day in a continuous sequence. In some running communities, streaking is a big deal, with many runners having continuous streaking records that exceed well over 20 years. So on next week's show, we'll share our thoughts on the pros and cons of having a running streak. And whilst it builds great discipline into your training and strength to your muscles, the question is whether it can burn you out in the longer term. So we'll talk about this and so much more. So as we keep saying, we are the only podcast with 5 7-star world major marathoners. And as usual, it will be another great episode and definitely not one to be missed.
Yeah, looking forward to that one. And yes, we'll all be wearing clothes. Thank you very much.
Yes.
5
7-star world marathoners, major marathoners. I reckon we just call ourselves 5 7-star unicorns is probably the better way to say that. It rolls off better, doesn't it? Having 5 of us all in the one place at the same time.
Can I just,
thanks.
Before we go finish up here, I just want to share, because streaking means something different when you are a injured runner, and I've noticed on my Strava I've been doing like 1 or 2 walks a week And now my streaking is, oh, you've got done 3 weeks in a row.
Yeah. New.
So instead of saying, oh, wow, I've run 5 days in a row, Strava's now getting excited if I can do something every week. So unreal.
Yeah, it's got different meanings, but in the world of running, streaking means running every day for at least a mile. So we'll talk about that next week. But that's it for this week's show, guys. As usual, it's been another fun one, and hopefully we've had a laugh and given our listeners a laugh or two along the way. Thanks, guys, for joining me tonight. Safe running, and see you all next week. In the meantime, we love making this podcast for you, our listeners. So why not try and contact us with a message on Instagram, Facebook, or email us at happyrunning@flyingrunner.com. And you can tell us your thoughts. We love getting feedback, and we'll reply to most messages in a very timely manner. Maybe you might want to tell us about the weird and wacky things you've experienced whilst out and running. So you can watch this episode wherever you're watching us right now or listening to us. But generally, you can get us on Spotify, YouTube, Apple, Amazon, and all major other podcast platforms. Every step counts. Keep running, and we'll see you next time on the Flying RuNR Podcast. Until then, happy running.
Happy running.
Happy running.
Teach the flying runner, run far, run free. Host the 7 stars, inclusive as can be. It's the flying runner for you and me. He's the flying runner, run far, run free. Host to 7 stars, inclusive as can be. It's the flying runner for you and me. Oh, oh, it's the flying runner for you and me.